Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest on everything cool every single day with a big help from our partners at the VFS School of Game Design. Thank you so much, Vancouver Film School. Today's rundown is dedicated to Stephanie Verrett, who said, awesome, best E3 coverage she saw all year. It was our pleasure, Stephanie. This rundown is all yours. After several delays, the new Star Trek has set a star date for when it will leave space dock. CBS has announced that their new series, Star Trek Discovery, will premiere on Sunday, September 24th. New episodes will follow every week until November, when the show will take a mid-season break until January. Discovery takes place a decade or so before the events of the original Star Trek series, focusing on a new crew and ship amidst rising tensions between the Federation and the Klingons, so expect an action-oriented tone more in line with the recent J.J. Abrams films than the classic Trek shows. This is the first Trek series since Enterprise was canceled in 2005, and CBS is using it to try out something different. It's their first big-budget show that will be available primarily on their subscription streaming service, CBS All Access. The first episode will air on regular television, but every episode after that will only be available online. More and more traditional TV networks are embracing online streaming as more and more audiences are cutting their cable, and this isn't the first time CBS has used Star Trek to experiment with a new distribution method. When The Next Generation premiered in 1987, it was one of the first big shows available in first-run syndication.
Tell me more.
Meaning it aired on cable networks the same week it premiered on CBS. Using a big franchise like Star Trek to kick off their streaming service shows that CBS is taking online streaming seriously. The first season will consist of 15 episodes. And shortly after the new Star Trek series beams down, you'll be able to do something completely different: enter the world of pro wrestling. 2K Sports has announced that the new pro wrestling game, WWE 2K18, will enter the ring on October 17th. It will be available on the PS4 and Xbox One, with a PC version expected to follow a few months later. As with previous years, anyone who pre-orders the game will be able to start playing it 4 days before everyone else. This time around, the cover art will be graced by WWE superstar Seth Rollins, and 2K promises that there will be better graphics, more modes and matches, and deeper character customization than ever before. Expect more details closer to launch. Video game company Atari is apparently getting back into the hardware business. They've released a teaser video for a new machine called the Atari Box. Very little is known about it at this point, but in a recent interview with GamesBeat, Atari CEO Fred Chenet confirmed that it is a new piece of hardware that will run on PC technology. It seems a bit unusual that Atari would want to become a competitor in the console market after so many decades away from it, so if we had to guess, we'd say that this is probably some kind of retro system that plays classic Atari games, similar to the recent NES Classic Edition. We'll let you know when more details come in. Atari has a long history in the video game business. After starting out with arcade machines in the 1970s, they became one of the first companies to release a home video game console with the Atari 2600 in 1977. They went bankrupt and changed hands several times in the 1980s, but continued to release new machines until their last one, the Atari Jaguar, in 1993. The Atari name changed hands several times again since then, so the company that exists today is not the same entity that created those classic systems and games. They have been re-releasing those old games though, so a retro system seems like a natural next step. And one of the people behind another classic game company has sadly passed away. Keith Robinson, who helped create countless games for the Intellivision console in the early 1980s, passed away last week at the age of 61. After working as a programmer on many Intellivision games, Robinson and his colleague Stephen Roney bought the rights to many of those games in the late 90s and released a series of classic collections on the PC, showing for the first time the interest that modern gamers have in playing older games. His work on those old Intellivision games played a big role in shaping the video game industry in its infancy. We actually interviewed Keith back during the 3rd season of Electric Playground when we did a profile on the early days of Intellivision, and you can watch that right now on our channel. The creators of some of Disney's most popular characters are becoming legends. Disney has announced the 2017 inductees in the Disney Legends Hall of Fame. The most notable additions this year are Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who together created some of the most well-known Marvel superheroes, including Iron Man, Hulk, and many of the other Avengers. Also being added this year are Mark Hamill and the late Carrie Fisher, who play Luke and Leia in the now Disney-owned Star Wars franchise.
May the Force be with you.
Disney Legends is exactly what it sounds like, a hall of fame that honors the best artists, writers, actors, musicians, and other creative minds that have contributed to Disney-owned properties. Past recipients include Star Wars creator George Lucas, Muppets creator Jim Henson, and Apple co-founder Steve Jobs, who sat on Disney's board of directors. This year's honorees will be inducted at a special ceremony during the D23 Expo, which takes place next month. You don't want to take history lessons from the multiplayer in Call of Duty World War II. Developer Sledgehammer Games has clarified how they plan to deal with racial and ethnic diversity in their new Call of Duty game. Recent Call of Duty titles, which take place in the future, have made a point of including more ethnic and gender diversity, but during the Second World War, black soldiers weren't allowed to serve alongside whites, and women weren't allowed to serve at all. This presents a problem for developers who want to balance diversity with historical accuracy. Here's how the new Call of Duty is dealing with it. Speaking with Eurogamer, Sledgehammer Games co-founder Michael Condrey says that the single-player campaign will be historically accurate, meaning you won't see any female American soldiers or racially integrated units, while the multiplayer will do things differently, giving players on both sides the ability to play as whoever they want. Condrey says they're doing this because they want to be true to history in the campaign, but bring the diverse Call of Duty community together in the multiplayer. This seems like a decent solution that meets both sides in the middle, but it raises a new problem. Since you'll be playing as the Axis powers in the multiplayer, you'll be seeing non-white Nazis. This is obviously something that would never have happened given the intensely racist Nazi ideology, and could even be considered disrespectful to the victims of Nazi atrocities. Condrey says that it was more important for them to let players be who they want to be in the social space than it was for them to be authentic to the Axis forces. Hopefully it works. World War II is such a pivotal moment in history that it's probably impossible to make a game that pleases everyone. We'll get to see how many people are pleased with Call of Duty World War II when it deploys November 3rd. One of the biggest games in the world is getting its biggest update ever. Niantic Labs has detailed a major revamp for their augmented reality game Pokémon Go. First of all, they're changing the way gym battles happen in the game. The longer a team holds on to the same gym, the harder it will be for them to defend it from other teams, which the developers hope will help motivate players to go out and try to conquer new gyms and defend the ones they already have. They're also introducing a raid battle feature that will allow you to join forces with other players on the same team to conquer a gym together. Niantic Labs says that this is the biggest update the game has ever received, and they'll begin rolling it out in the next few weeks. Pokémon Go became a global phenomenon when it launched last summer, and despite a drop in popularity, it's still one of the biggest games out there with millions of players every day. It demonstrates the breakthrough potential of AR gaming, not to mention the mainstream popularity of the Pokémon characters. The numbers indicate that the success of Pokémon Go even helped fuel sales of the recent 3DS game Pokémon Sun and Moon. An enhanced Ultra version featuring more characters and an alternate story will hit the 3DS this November. Nintendo has also confirmed rumors that they're working on a Pokémon RPG for the Nintendo Switch, which will be the first game in the main Pokémon series released on a console ever. Don't expect to see that until at least next year. That's it for our rundown today. Thanks for watching. To learn more about game design, visit our pals at vfs.edu. We'll be back again tomorrow with a brand new episode, and in the meantime, check out some of the other content we've made. And if you dig it, hit subscribe, all right?